Hello guys, welcome back today. We're going to be talking about Paul Stastny and which team will sign him in the 2018 offseason. Now, Paul Stastny is getting a lot of interest for the second best center in this free agency class if he were to not get re-signed by Winnipeg, and I think he definitely deserves that plateau, as he was amazing with the Winnipeg Jets in the regular season and in the playoffs. In 82 games this season, he has 16 goals, 37 assists for 53 points. He had a 54.2% Corsi for percentage, which is amazing, by the way. He had 15 playoff points. I think he had 17 games played in the playoffs and 15 playoff points. Hey, I'll take that on my team. And of course, he's a center at age 32, so he's not going to get a huge contract here. I think the max that he gets is 4 years, but I think that's pretty, I guess, optimistic for him. I feel like he'll get around that 2 to 3 million, or not $1 million, but a year contract. I feel like there'll be a couple of teams that offer him 4 million or 4 years, but we'll be a little bit more down on the numbers, or at least the cap per year. So I think he's going to get at max 4 years, but that's at max. I don't know if he'll get even that. And I can see him getting around the $4.56 million range. Again, his last contract was at $7 million. While that is a great cap hit for him, and I think it was a little bit too much of an overpayment, I think that he'll get around that $4.5 to $6 million range, probably in that sweet spot of like a $5.5 million range. I see him getting at max $6 million. I don't know if he'll go too much over that, unless a team is really, really stupid. And of course, there's a lot of teams in the league that need a second line center, and Paul Stastny definitely fits that bill, as he was amazing in Winnipeg, and definitely could be a first line center at the production that he was at with Winnipeg. Now, he has shown interest in staying with Winnipeg, and it could work out, but I see that being kind of a disaster for Winnipeg. They got a lot of great guys coming out the Bucks in the next 1 to 3 years, and they need to sign those guys. They need to sign those young guys that they have, and signing Paul Stastny would definitely prevent a couple of the guys from signing. They already got guys to worry about this season, like Hellebuyck, so it would just create kind of a disaster with that cap if they were to re-sign Paul Stastny. And even though I feel like the fit is good, I feel like it's not warranted for Winnipeg to give up a young guy at free agency because they're signing Paul Stastny. So while Stastny might want to take a paycheck, I think that's the only way that happens. And maybe a paycheck, maybe like a $4 million deal for 2 years. I feel like that's the only way they can really make that work. Besides that, I don't feel like Winnipeg would be very well off signing Paul Stastny. I feel like they already have some guys that would fit that mold. And again, while it was a good fit, Stastny with Winnipeg in the last season, I just don't see it working out. It's how they can get that deal done without letting go of a few players that they probably need. But thankfully for Paul Stastny, a lot of other teams need a second line center, and of course, as I said before, Paul Stastny is a perfect fit for that. Now, the obvious elephant in the room is Montreal Canadiens. They would go after Tavares, and they are going to go after Tavares if he were to go to that free agency market. But if they don't land Tavares, they're going to be dead on center to Paul Stastny if he isn't signed already. He's definitely going to be a guy that Montreal targets, whether he wants to go there or not. That's the real question. But I feel like Montreal is going to give them the most money, the most term, and while that's might not be great for Montreal, I feel like Paul Stastny, if he were to go there, would just be in it for the money. And it's not like Montreal is going to be competitive anytime soon. But I would definitely think that Montreal would give the most term, the most amount of money to him if they were to not get Tavares. San Jose is another team that I feel like would make a lot of sense. And while they may go for some big guys, of course, they got a lot of cap space with removing that Hoffman and removing all those trades that they've done in the past few weeks. We've seen them go of a lot of cap space recently, and they can definitely use that in free agency. And why not Paul Stastny? While they have a decent center depth, I feel like adding a guy like Paul Stastny will definitely help that, boost that core, and make them pretty scary. And while, that isn't the direction of San Jose right now, they're going more towards youth. I feel like since they've opened all this cap space, they're going to go for a few guys in free agency, and I feel like Paul Stastny could definitely fit there. I feel like a dark horse team for Paul Stastny would be the Toronto Maple Leafs, but this would only work if they were to get rid of Bozak and JVR. So I feel like they would have to make some adjustments to make sure that Paul Stastny would fit, but I feel like they could make it happen. If Bozak were to go, Paul Stastny could be a good fit for that third line center. He'd be a fantastic third line center. And I feel like Paul Stastny would want to go to Toronto because they're such a good team and because they're a contender. He could go have a price cut, take off a year, maybe for a 1 year deal. We could see what happens there, but of course the rumors have been swirling that Tavares could go to Toronto, and people have been saying a 1 year deal, so why not Paul Stastny if, of course, that Tavares deal isn't happening? I feel like they can definitely do a 1 year deal for Tavares or for Paul Stastny. I think they can make it work. I'm going to go to my favorite team, the Dallas Stars, and I feel like Paul Stastny could be a good fit in Dallas. While he's 32, and of course that's worrying to me, we don't know when his production is going to fall off, but Dallas, of course, is in need of a second-line center, and Paul Stastny is that. So I feel like Paul Stastny would be a good fit there. He really does fit the bill of what Dallas needs this offseason, and I feel like it would be a little bit more of an expensive option. Of course, in free agency, it's going to be a lot more expensive, but for Dallas, it would be a good fit, and I would like to see Paul Stastny on the team. Another option is that he goes back to St. Louis, where of course he was traded in the trade deadline. I feel like St. Louis would want him back. Of course, it was the plan to re-sign him with St. Louis before they started to tank, and once they did that, of course, they went back up in the standings. But the plan was re-sign Stastny in St. Louis. So I feel like that bond is still there. That relationship is still there with St. Louis. I feel like they can work something out. I feel like St. Louis is in need of course, a center like Paul Stastny. They can definitely use a guy like that, and definitely, I think it will definitely work as it has before. I feel like the New Jersey Devils could also fit there. Of course, they got rid of Adam Henrique earlier in this season. I feel like they definitely use a guy like Paul Stastny, and while he might not be the top 6 mold for them, I feel like he could definitely be a switch guy that could be that third-line center, or could be that second-line center for them. The flexibility is there with Paul Stastny. I feel like New Jersey could definitely use that. They have the money, and they have the cap room. I see why not. If they want to get more competitive, they can definitely go up for a guy like Paul Stastny, who still has speed and still has the playmaking. But overall, I feel like Paul Stastny is one of the guys that has the most options throughout this free agency. Of course, he fits a lot of a team's needs, a second-line center that can still produce at age 32. And I feel like it'll definitely be useful for a ton of teams in the NHL right now. And obviously, I feel like there's going to be a ton of teams that are going to be interested in him and are going to be in the race for him. So who knows, maybe there's a team that I didn't even write down, that I didn't even talk about one bit, that gets him. It's really an open playing field right now because Stastny has so many options, because there's a lot of teams that could definitely use a guy like that, and teams that have a lot of cap space. So I feel like no matter where he goes, he's going to get paid. I feel like there's a lot of teams that will want him, that'll want to pay just a little bit extra to have that second-line center, that bona fide second-line center. And I feel like that'll definitely help him. I feel like he'll definitely have a good case in the free agency. I mean, I think he's going to be one of the players that gets the most offers for free agency. I think this is the kind of guy that is going to get a ton of interest throughout the league. But again, I'm trying to predict what team will sign him, and if I had to pick one, as a Dallas Stars fan, I think he's coming to Dallas, and I feel like that's, it's a weird fit, but I still think that it would work out. So I feel like even though we haven't even really seen too much interest from the Dallas Stars for Paul Stastny, I still think that it'll work out, and I still think that interest will come in time. And while I may be picking the Dallas Stars, he could go to some random team. It really is all open in the air. But that's going out for today, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below where you think Paul Stastny will sign. What do you think of Paul Stastny in general, and where do you think he'll go? I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.